look at everyone's got the leather. She's got it on too.
Live from New York at the biggest show in legal tech. This is TECHNOCAT, and I am here with Rachel Zahorsky and Elizabeth Lugones.
Yes.
And we are here to talk all things the biggest show with more people than I've ever seen in New York. I'm pretty excited. So let's talk about it. We are 4 hours in to Legalweek. What is your take? What's been going on?
Well, I have to say I'm really excited. We just came off a panel. Rachel and I did the future of legal in the industry. And the most exciting part was a group of kids from Suffolk College who attended the session. And they came up to us to talk about what we were talking about in the industry, and particularly around DEI and how the legal industry is going to have an impact on that. And it was so refreshing and wonderful to see that all generations were in one room together talking about it. So that was pretty exciting.
Well, I have to say, it feels like there's more people here than ever before that are different. This is my 6th podcast, and I'm 6 women in on 6 podcasts, 6 for 6. I love that we're kind of highlighting people that might, be part of it, BIPOC or different genders. It's kind of exciting.
Very exciting.
When I was a baby reporter, before I was at Novus Law, I started a column called Legal Rebels, and it was about lawyers who were advancing innovation within the profession.
Oh, I love that.
And the reason we started the column was because there was so much coverage that was negative about law firms, about lawyers, about those taking the LSAT. The numbers are going down. The best and the brightest no longer want to be lawyers. That session was packed, and there was so much energy and excitement over the future of the profession that I have seen in a really long time. What opportunities are going to look like for law grads, the type of exciting work that lawyers are going to get to do, getting out of the slog, career enhancing work. It was really, really positive, and it's the first time in a long time that I have felt that kind of energy across the board. Not just here's something exciting happening in contracts or in case management, but across the board. Technology, process, really innovation has got this energy behind it where it's no longer on the hype curve, it's on the execution curve. And I think that's why people are feeling this renewed sense of vigor and excitement just to be in legal.
I love that, from the hype curve to the execution curve, because I think that that's what this moment in time is, 100%.
Absolutely. And you were talking about the diversity that you're seeing, right? And the 6 women that you spoke to today. And I'm thinking about early on in my career when I started coming to Legalweek and what this was about. The majority of the people who would come to Legalweek were in the IT function that supported the legal department, and they were trying to influence, right, their legal department to use that. And now all I'm seeing is law firms are here, lawyers from in-house, right? All the professionals within the legal industry, whether you're a tech vendor, a consultant, or what have you. And I'm still waiting to see where's right, that total shift is actually quite exciting.
Well, I think it's part of a bigger shift of legal technology getting a seat at the business decision table. So people that are in innovation or even discovery or whatever, contract analysts, these folks, the business has realized they are dealing with areas of risk and opportunity, and so they're interacting with them sooner. And so suddenly these people, they're coming here, they're getting the investment they need to come and upskill and educate themselves.
Well, that's what we discussed. Part of the things that we discussed in our panel earlier was how technology really is enabling the lawyers to become that strategic business partner, right? They're no longer expected to be an advisor, but they really are expected to be a solution architect with the business that they're supporting, whether you're a law firm and supporting a client or you're in-house supporting the greater business. You really have to leverage technology, and technology not only enables that from a data perspective to make those business decisions, but it's a great leveling playing field to ensure that you're even bubbling up those diverse voices, right? And you're giving them access to the data that they used to only be able to have access to because they got put on a transaction or a deal or they had a particular mentor. Now with the advent of ChatGPT, right, that's really going to allow to give people access to information that they would only be able to get from experience after 20 years, right? They get it a lot faster. So now I think the floodgates are going to be open a lot faster than anybody had thought, right? It's going to be an exciting time.
Well,
Yeah, I totally agree. The demand for legal is greater than it has been in the past
Yes.
10 years. I mentioned a survey in our panel, the Thomson Reuters State of the Industry. It came out at the end of 2022. 43% of global GCs are expecting to increase their legal spend, which means they're only doing it because there's going to be more work. Litigation in the US, the spend to revenue ratio is 3 times what it is globally. The COVID stall, floodgates are opening, things are moving back through the courts. So that's adding to it. Social inflation is adding to it. More plaintiff-friendly judgments,
100%.
huge judgments. So we've got all of this stuff coming, and what we're seeing with process, what we're seeing with tech, what we're seeing with people is allowing us to address those concerns, but in a way that is really impactful. And like you said, seat at the table, we can now track inherent bias. Who's getting the career enhancing work, which we just didn't do before, right? Where are we allocating the work? Are we choosing the legal service providers based on just specific skill set and where they went to law school, or are we actually pulling levers that increase client satisfaction, like gender diversity, feedback loops, industry expertise, those types of things that clients should be looking at and law firms should be selling. We have the metrics to track it and take action on it. And that is what I feel like you said, it's one thing to want that seat at the table, and it's the other to sit at the table and make that impact, have the ear of your CEO, and then have him act upon your decisions. And it's awesome.
The data is power, because then you can kind of speak their language in terms of, all right, we need to make this shift, and here's why.
Absolutely.
And I think we're tracking the right data.
Finally.
People are asking, right? Like 1% of in-house lawyers were tracking loss and settlement amounts and rates.
Yeah.
That's hugely impactful. Lower those and you completely change. Stop focusing on, you have to focus on how much you're paying your law firms, right? But there are other things that they just weren't even tracking or aware that they should be, that are incredibly impactful on the whole overall business organization, not just
And
the
not
legal
only just
department.
collecting data, right? Now we have the ability to collect so much data, but you are starting to hear and understand an appreciation from the ecosystem. Like, are we collecting the right data? And what's the purpose of that data? And the power of storytelling, whether you're building a product, whether you are trying to manage risk or what have you, there's a story to be told. And there is, I think, the leaders in the industry are going to be those that, can express digital leadership. And digital leadership is being able, how do you pull all that data together? How do you bring those diverse perspectives, whether they're sitting in a room with you or they're sitting in Dubai, for example? How do you, create that inclusive environment? And then how do you visualize? How do you take that data? And don't give me a 20-page memo, right? Because nobody's going to want to read that, let alone you don't want to write it, right?
God forbid it's a spreadsheet. I'm just going to say no, hard no. If you're into like the ZZZ, I don't want to look at it.
No, absolutely, right? So data visualization, how can you take facts and figures to tell a compelling story to influence, is going to be a huge change.
Awesome. Well, because I didn't do it at the intro because I'm terrible, tell me a little bit about where each of you work. So I know you're at Novus
Law. We find the story of what happens in litigation and investigations of all types faster, for a lower cost, with greater accuracy than any traditional model. When you talk about storytelling, we give our clients the story of an engagement or an investigation, a piece of due diligence of what happened in 3,000 words. In 3,000 words in a hyperlinked wiki-style portal. Here's what happened, investigative journalism style, objectively. Now you take that and pursue your legal strategy. And the real value in that is time to knowledge. Because if you have the story of what happened before the other side does, then you can make all sorts of decisions about your legal strategy before you have to produce documents to the other side and things go farther down the road than you want.
And the real limited resource for us all now is the time component. There are cases where the budget's basically unlimited, but there aren't enough hours in the day to get through the information.
And so that's when the civil justice system gets hijacked, right?
And
cases are not solved on merit. They're solved on, right, how much money, how much is this hurting us? And it's just bad for everybody, right? Bad for everybody.
So, and Elizabeth,
I was just going to say, speaking of, there's not enough time. That's something that at Up Level Ops, one of the areas of focus that we focus on. So we are a legal operations consultancy. What sets us apart is we've all been in-house legal operations leaders and chief of staff to general counsels and CLOs. And we really work with those departments to bring their law to the next level and really empower and enable the talent, right, from a people perspective, so they could create the capacity, the mental capacity to really deliver their legal services to the organization, right? And that's not, layered with building in the processes and optimizing that. And then we figure out where technology can help. So everything from doing assessments, change management, communications protocols, we really think about that. How do we enable that ecosystem so that everybody has a little work joy along the way and they can deliver great work?
You had me at work joy.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes.
I mean, I would do 10% more. Yes, please.
Right?
I love that. Well, these always go super fast. It's a sprint, not a marathon. So we are at the tail end. It is time for the mic drop moment. So what is the one thing someone meeting you, Elizabeth, for the first time you want them to take away from this conversation? Or Rachel, either or.
The change starts with the idea, right? Whether you're sitting in a legal department and you want to implement a little piece of tech, or you're trying to effectuate a broader change from a regulatory perspective. The idea is the seed, and you're going to take that, and I think the advent of technology is going to allow that seed to explode and to bring people together to create solutions.
Oh, that's awesome. And Emma, for you?
Process.
Yes.
The technology shouldn't just be making your current processes faster or better. You should be thinking about how you're restructuring all of your processes and each little element of that. I think we might see a world very soon where search and review goes away. No more keyword searches and buckets.
That makes my
Perhaps
palms sweat. I don't know.
perhaps we type in, did Sam Friedman
make you feel some
knowingly
sort of-
commit wire fraud?
I kind of like it. It's all the AI. I like it. I'm all in on it.
Those are the things we need to be thinking about, right? Not just how do we make this process better, but we're completely rewriting the process. And if we're not doing it, there is outside investment, private equity firms, venture capitalist firms, they are funding the companies that will. And so I think it's on us to own our industry, to own our profession, and be at the forefront and not catching up to everybody else. And then I have one ask, and this is from a DEI perspective. I think if you are a client and you're saying, I want a law firm who's going to have skin in the game with me, you need to have skin in the game, and you need to be asking them who is doing the career enhancing work. You now have the data and metrics to track inherent biases. You can see who's being properly rewarded, and you can make sure the people who are the greatest advocates for you as a client are the ones who are actually being rewarded with that career enhancing work. So that's my ask.
I need
that's
to
the future.
springboard off of that. But if you're a client and that's an area that you're focusing in, don't just say to the law firm, here, solve this problem. Reach in. If you see a talent in that area that's not being utilized, partner with that law firm to create the opportunities. Ask for that individual to work on your cases and on your matters consistently. So don't ask for data's sake if you're not going to talk and partner and create solutions with your law firms.
I love that. Well, so for anyone that's tuning in via LinkedIn, both ladies, Rachel and Elizabeth, are going to have their name hyperlinked. Click on that and follow them because they're doing interesting stuff and commenting on interesting stuff. And then you know what? Live from New York, it's been TECHNOCAT Live. Thank you to Rachel and to Elizabeth. And the mic is dropped. On to the next one.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Kat.